So you think Republicans are deliberately appealing to those divisive,
of course, that's
sexism, racism, all of that? That is your belief, that they're...
Not my belief. That's what wedge issues
all right, so
are
let
about.
me ask you a question. So you say that you get frustrated sometimes, peace on this totally, with the press for not talking about the Republican agenda as you see it. Isn't it also incumbent upon the Democrats, as they run in elections, no different than Republicans, to convey what the agenda of their opponents is? And if they fall short in elections, they have to bear at least some of the responsibility for not doing an adequate job of conveying what their opponents
believe. The answer
is
absolutely.
Yeah.
But, and here's the but, and this is where, when you talk about the establishment, whether it's, the economic establishment, the political establishment, there's a media establishment as well. And you answer this for me, Evan. Let me ask you the question here.
All right.
All right. In the last budget, again, I'm a little obsessed with it because I was on the floor 5 days with it.
Right.
Republicans threw 27 million people off of health insurance. That's a fact, okay? By ending the Affordable Care Act and cutting Medicaid by $440 billion.
Well, they're proposing ending it. It's still a law.
Absolutely.
Right.
Okay, absolutely.
Right.
Do you think it's worth a headline in America that says Republican Party's budget throws 27 million people off of health care?
I think that most people in the media would tell you that they might not use exactly those words, but the fact of their proposal to end the Affordable Care Act and therefore end the health insurance of X number of people, that to me seems like a legitimate thing to be reported.
How many people have seen that, do you think? Anybody seen it? Give you another example. And again, I don't want to beat up on the media. I'm diverting a little bit from your good questions. We can argue about whether we like the Trans-Pacific Partnership. Well, we can argue about that. I don't like it. I've been against American trade policies. I think it's one of the reasons that wages have gone down and jobs have gone abroad. Be that as it may, the last study that I saw, may have changed, has anybody said that on the major networks, ABC, CBS, NBC, there has not been one word of discussion about the largest trade agreement in the history of America? Do you think that makes sense? How does that happen? So what I'm saying is that when we talk about a political revolution in America, which is what I believe we need, it needs to raise public consciousness, to have elections not in which 36% of the people vote, but where 80 or 90% of the people vote. A poll done last year, they asked the American people, can you tell me which political party controls the U.S. Senate and U.S. House? 63% of the American people couldn't answer that
nobody
question.
knows anything on that stuff, right?
All right.
Yeah.
But how do we have a vibrant democracy where government works for the people if people don't even know which party controls the House or the Senate?
But we can agree that that's the problem. We might not agree on what the solution to the problem is.
Well, one of the solutions is that we have a media which focuses on the real issues facing the American people, holds political parties and candidates accountable, rather than does political gossip. That's one thing that we can do.
I don't think that's unreasonable. But I would also say, Senator, that Republicans have figured out how to go around the filter and go directly to voters, and maybe Democrats need to do a better job of doing the same thing.
I think you're absolutely right about that. Right, yeah. And I'll tell you where I see really a lot of optimism. And this is an advertisement. Sanders.senate.gov. Got it? We have a very active website. We will have soon about 1 million people who are part of our Facebook effort. We have more people on Facebook than any other member of the Senate, precisely for those reasons.
Yep.
That I think we have got to figure out mechanisms to get directly to people.
It's direct democracy.
Exactly.
I had read that you were frustrated about the number of times you were asked about Secretary Clinton's emails. And I'm wondering if you view that as just a total tempest in a teapot, or is there some real transparency issues about how government operates at the core of this that people like yourself should talk about?
The frustration is that in all the years I've been in Congress, it's true, not one person in the media came up to me and said, Bernie, we have the highest rate of childhood poverty in the industrialized world. What are you going to do about it? Bernie, we have 11% of our people unemployed today. How are you going to put those people back to work? Bernie, are you worried that so few people have so much political power? What are you going to do about that? Those are questions I don't hear very much about. So in terms of, I don't know a whole lot about, I know what you know, what you read in the newspapers about the emails. I really don't know what the rules are in terms of the Department of State. But frankly, from the calls, I just mentioned, asked my person at the front desk, how many calls are we getting on Hillary's emails? You know what the answer was in Washington, D.C.? 0. Not one of the major issues facing me.
How will your decision on running for president be affected by what others do? For instance, Secretary Clinton if she gets in the race, and depending on what she does or says, if she goes to Wall Street and comes out very strong against Wall Street, for instance, or if a Senator Warren or somebody like that got in, would that affect your decision to get in or get out?
No, I would not be running, I do politics, again, people in Vermont understand this, I don't, the rest of the country doesn't, a little bit differently than other people do. You're looking at somebody who's run in many, many elections. In the House for 16 years, 8 elections. In the Senate, twice, lost some elections. Do you know how many negative ads I've run during all those years? Not one. Never ran a negative ad. So I don't run against people. It's not my desire to trash people. Hillary Clinton is a remarkable woman with an extraordinary history of public service. Wouldn't it not be my job to run against her? It would be my job, if she ran and if I ran, to debate the serious issues facing our country, as intelligent people should be doing in a democracy. And let me say this, again, this is how I always get myself in trouble, and I'm getting my wife nervous already. But we can't have that serious debate if the media doesn't allow it. So I would urge my media friends that instead of political gossip, let us talk about the real issues and respect different points of view. But when 63% of the people in a poll last year didn't know which political parties controlled the House and the Senate, something is wrong with political consciousness in this country. So what we need is civil, intelligent debates on the real issues facing the American people. Not more political gossip of who's winning today and who's losing, who slipped on a banana peel, who said something particularly stupid. Sure, I did today, it'll be, but let it be. How do we rebuild a crumbling middle class? How do we lead the world in transforming our energy system so we can save the planet from climate change? How do we do with a grotesque level? How do we deal with the grotesque level of income and wealth inequality? Not easy stuff. How do we do it? Those are the issues that serious people should be talking about.
I'm wondering if you can address a vulnerability that we've seen you dealing with recently. We see in our recent poll that nearly 6 in 10 Americans say they don't believe that you're honest and trustworthy. Do you understand why they feel that way?
Well, I think when you are subjected to the kind of constant barrage of attacks that are largely fomented by and coming from the right.
But do you bear any responsibility for it?
Well, I can only tell you that I was elected twice in New York against the same kind of onslaught. I was confirmed and served as Secretary of State. And I think it's understandable that when questions are raised, people maybe are thinking about them and wondering about them. But I have every confidence that during the course of this campaign, people are going to know who will fight for them, who will be there when they need them, and that's the kind of person I am, and that's what I will do, not only in a campaign, but as president.
Trusting someone to fight for them and trusting someone, these are two different things. Do you see any role that you've had in this sentiment that we've seen where people are questioning whether you're trustworthy?
I can only tell you, Brianna, that this has been a theme that has been used against me and my husband for many, many years. And at the end of the day, I think voters sort it all out. I have great confidence. I trust the American voter. So I trust the American voter 100% because I think, the American voter will weigh these kinds of accusations. I mean, people write books filled with unsubstantiated attacks against us and even admit they have no evidence. But of course, it's your job to cover it. So of course, that's going to raise questions in people's minds. But during the course of this campaign, just as in my 2 prior campaigns and in my other years of service, I have a lot of confidence that the American people can sort it all out.